In this comparative study, I will examine the nostalgic narrative structure of two teenage period pieces with almost 20 years between their respective release dates, American Graffiti of 1973 and Dazed and Confused of 1993. These two films were landmarks in the coming-of-age genre, and although taking place over 20 years and nearly 1,700 miles apart, there are many social and cultural parallels between these time capsule films. First, American Graffiti, directed by George Lucas and produced by Francis Ford Coppola. American Graffiti takes place during the early 1960s in Modesto, California. However, the film was not shot until the early 1970s and didn't see a theatrical release until 1973. This time gap created a cultural longing to what George Lucas believed to be cooler times. Lucas had been challenged by Coppola to write a film for a larger audience, and Lucas began to toy with the idea of Another Quiet Night in Modesto, eventually changing titles to American Graffiti. When asked about his overall inspiration, Lucas responded, "Cruising was gone, and I felt compelled to document the whole experience in what my generation used as a way of meeting girls." Along with this, George Lucas employed unique techniques to encapsulate and express his experience. American Graffiti tells the story of a group of high school graduates on their last day of summer vacation. Our main protagonists, Kurt Henderson and Steve Bolander, struggle with the idea of leaving Modesto and moving on from high school. They eventually meet with and introduce characters John Milner and Terry Fields. John Milner is an older character that acts as an example for someone who never left the small-town confinement that our other characters must eventually address.
The pickings are really getting slim. The whole strip is shrinking. I remember about 5 years ago, take you a couple hours, tank full of gas just to make one circuit. It's really something.
As the night progresses, these characters split and each go on their respective ways to fulfill their last night together in Modesto. George Lucas employs a multi-linear narrative structure as we jump from character to character and see how their night has progressed. This structure is almost completely identical to that of Dazed and Confused. Though taking place in 1976, Dazed and Confused also takes place during summer vacation, the first day of it. We meet characters like Randall Pink Floyd, Pickford, Don Dawson, Mitch, Ron, Julie, and many others. There's an immediate focus on the social hierarchy created by timeless high school class differences, and a lot of hazing activities take place between the seniors and freshmen.
Let's get going.
I don't think so, creep.
Mom!
Carl, get in the house.
Get in the house!
And you, get the hell off my property.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just escorting your fine young son home from school. There are some ruffians about, and I... Oh, and Mitch, Carl, we'll be seeing each other again. Oh, that's it.
Similar to the ridicule that John Milner has toward Kurt and Steve for going out to the back-to-school hop, seen as a lower-classman activity.
Oh, come on, man. That place is for kids. You two just got your ass out of there. Don't go back there.
You ain't got no emotions? We are going to remember all of the good times, is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, well, go.
Why don't you come with us?
Bullshit, man.
Come on, for old time's sake.
Yeah, well, listen, you go. Go ahead, Curtsy, baby. You go on over there and you remember all the good times you won't be having. I ain't going off some goddamn fancy college. I'm staying right here, having fun as usual.
The social divide follows the rest of Dazed and Confused as freshman Mitch Kramer escapes hazing from local bully Fred Albanian. Mitch Kramer is immediately exposed to the older crowd and sees the largest character progression as he partakes in his activities with the seniors that earn him respect and self-fulfillment.
Hey, man. What grade she in? Sophomore. You cool, man? Like how? Okay. Hey, man, wait up.
He was just asking if you get high.
Yeah, like smoke pot?
Yeah.
The struggle is similar to that of Toad in American Graffiti as he admires his old friends John, Kurt, and Steve, and attempts to do things that he finds cool and grown, mostly to impress a girl he meets. Like American Graffiti, we follow multiple stories between different characters. However, the small-town confinement is greater expressed in Dazed and Confused, as the majority of our characters cross paths many times and don't as often separate. Both of these films were written by directors that attempted to capture their own experiences during these glorified decades, and they did so very similarly, not just through character archetypes and narrative structure, but by heavily addressing the teenage parallels of drug use and sexual experimentation. However, American Graffiti is filled with the conforming ideals of the 1950s, and in Dazed and Confused there is a much more free-range undertone.
Man, let me tell you this. The older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow. You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
These parallels are closely shown in almost identical scenes where a character is attempting to steal alcohol from an establishment to impress their peers. Though very similar experiences, differing decades affect the cultural context and the overall outlook on these actions. For example, during the 1950s, the teenager ideal was very early in development and viewed as more of a young adult role. But by the 1970s, teenagers took on a whole new meaning, representing rebellion and freedom as seen in Dazed and Confused, and the symbolism of an anti-drug promise contract that is being forced upon many of the characters participating in football.
All right, this is totally amazing. I voluntarily agree to not indulge in any alcohol, drugs, or engage in any other illegal activity that may in any way jeopardize the years of hard work we as a team have committed to our goal of a championship season in '76.
What bullshit.
You guys are actually signing this crap?
Apparently.
God, what are they gonna do next? Like, give you guys urine tests or something?
See, I just didn't know that drugs and alcohol were such a big problem that they had to resort to neo-McCarthyism.
No, I think they're just afraid some of us might be having too good a time.
It's the old age-suppressing youth thing, you know?
Neo-McCarthyism, I like that.
In American Graffiti, drugs such as alcohol are used to fit in and conform, while Dazed and Confused uses them as a mark of rebellion and revolt against adults. Along with this, relationships are a main focus of these stories and their attempts to capture the beauty and ignorance of young love. However, the most obvious similarities are in the decade-defining symbols. The soundtracks of both films are filled with the decade's hits rather than that of a traditional movie score, and are widely regarded as some of the best in any films. The techniques pioneered by George Lucas, with dramatized distancing and absence of sound, are also often used by Dazed and Confused director Richard Linklater.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Pink. I can't believe this. You act like you're so oppressed. Then you guys are kings of the school. You get away with whatever you want. What are you bitching about?
Well, look, all I'm saying is that if I ever start referring to these as the best years of my life, remind me to kill myself.
Well, all I'm saying is I just want to look back and say that I did it the best I could while I was stuck in this place. Had as much fun as I could when I was stuck in this place. Played as hard as I could when I was stuck in this place. Dogged as many chicks as I could when I was stuck in this place.
Yeah, right, Mr. Premature ejaculation.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good, baby.
You do it.
Is that the cop?
What the hell?
Hey, all of you, get over here, now!
We can also see many similar settings of drive-ins and the local strip. However, the symbol most often employed is cars, cars, and more cars. The focus on cars is very clear in both films, with some car scenes having very similar cinematography.
How you doing, boys?
Many of the film's most important moments take place in vehicles, highlighting the importance of these vehicles to pop culture of the times. Though these decade-defining symbols may take different faces depending on their time and cultural context, they are very similar in form. However, the main difference between these films are their endings. While American Graffiti mainly wraps up stories for each main character in simple, short dialogue, Dazed and Confused leaves almost every question unanswered and most stories a mystery. Both American Graffiti and Dazed and Confused employ multilinear storytelling and decade-defining symbols to glorify and express the wildness and simultaneous simplicity of teenage life in America and the social and cultural results of this.